Alright, we're good.
All right, cool. I was like, should I log on to the zoom.com and then see if interpretation's up?
Or something. No, okay. Okay. Moving out of support. You were the percent. I have only ever done, I'm just obviously small study group, so I have only ever done one other webinar, and it was like a year ago.
Oh wow.
Not
This
that
will
it's
be
like no
fun.
big a deal, but
Hmm.
I just don't do them very often.
This will be fun.
Much fun. It's only 8 o'clock for me, and I feel like I've had a long morning already.
Oh yeah, that's crazy. I can't believe it is 8 o'clock for you. That is
Yeah.
insane. So when do you start your workday since you're one of the West Coast?
We start at 5, technically.
Oh my.
Right? But I get to be done by like 2:30.
That is crazy. I'm gonna admit Emily to the call. That is
Yeah,
crazy. I
we had a
mean, I
call
guess
for
you end early.
New Jersey this morning with a potential partner organization, and it was fine. It didn't go poorly. It just like did not. We didn't have the response that we were hoping for from them.
Mm-hmm.
So I
Mm.
feel
Oh
like
no.
between that call and then like the debrief that I had with Michelle and Brooklyn after that, I'm like all riled up this morning. I gotta get
Oh gosh.
set for this Georgia Tech calm words.
Oh gosh. That's crazy. I mean, we got 10 minutes until the call. Hi, Emily.
Emily, thanks for being here.
Yeah, that's crazy. So it's like every single time it's like we have our like 9 a.m. meetings. It's like
Thanks.
6 for you?
Yeah.
Okay, I should even complain because I'm Central Standard Time and it's like, oh man, I hate these. Or not hate, I dislike these like 8 o'clock calls. I'm like, oh man, I'm so
Well,
tired. But
8 a.m.
then,
is early. I totally agree. I try to. I'm gonna assign you back host just so you know, Aaron.
oh,
Oh shoot, and I lost my screen share. Um, oh, Lord.
wait, Emily, are you there? Do you want to try out interpretation?
I
Just
am.
to make sure it works.
Yeah, sure.
Hey, I'm gonna turn it on just to make sure. Okay, I'm gonna start it right. Actually, let's see. I'm gonna start it right now. Okay.
I think I'm not configured right because it's giving me the option to join.
I see, I see. Let us turn that off. Add interpreter. Let's see.
Good thing we checked.
Add interpreter. Cool. Update. Okay, I'm gonna hop in the Spanish channel. Hi, Emily. Are you there? Yes, yes, I can hear you. Yep, I can hear you fine. No, that's perfect. I'm going to end it right now. All right, cool.
Okay, excellent.
Okay, sorry, Aaron. Last request. Can you make me co-host? Because otherwise I can't screen share. Because I
Oh, shoot.
reassigned it
Yeah,
to
my
you, but it
apologies.
didn't. No, 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 you're good. I assigned you host and it didn't. I didn't keep co-host permission. Thank you.
I'm gonna stand up
All
and
right.
get myself some water, and I'll be right back. You don't need
Oh,
anything else before we begin, correct?
No, we're good. Thanks,
Okay.
Emily.
thank you, Emily. Hi, Jen.
Hi, everyone. There's never been so many people named Civitas Strategies in a Zoom ever. Let me just change my name, I guess.
Yeah, I was just about to do that.
I saw that we have 28 people for New Jersey tonight. So that's nice. Yeah.
Yeah, we had a call.
Ooh.
We're excited, very excited about that number. We had a call this morning also with one of their state agencies for maternal and infant health, and some of that team is joining us as well, which is good.
That's
Looking for
great.
some partnership opportunities with them. So excited for them to see our work. But yeah, we're really excited about the number. Because
Yeah.
pretty much as of like this time last week, I think we only had 2 people registered, and then we did some, additional outreach and made sure that we got all of our touch points out. And 25 is a good strong number. We were like, as long as there's 5 people, we'll run the webinar.
Yeah.
And we've exceeded that, so we're quite pleased.
That's yeah, that's what we'll have to do. I just realized, oh my goodness, we don't have that one-on-one slide translated. So much is blowing past me that I'm not thinking about it because we don't use it in small study. So
Yeah, we don't
yeah,
have Spanish.
yeah. So 5 minutes. Let me see who's around. Well, I know I don't want you to stop your share. Did you get the new slide that I created?
Yes, I don't think I told you, but I added it. It's
Okay,
yes, I
thank
added
you.
it before the Tom Copeland slide at the end.
Okay, thanks. So, and is it in the very beginning so that I can just,
Here.
I just want to jump. I'm sorry if you have to stop your share. I just want to,
Here.
just so that I'll speak and I'll get the heck out of your way. Just get out of here. So. And whenever it works for you, Margaret, this is your show. And I know she's not live, not on camera, but hey, Emily, just saying hello.
Hi there, Jen.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, good. You?
Good, good. Thank you for joining us.
So I'll go ahead and introduce it, and we'll start interpretation, and then we can do the one-on-one promo before we do the disclaimer. So right after we.
Perfect. Yep. And then I'll just get out of here and just, when get to it at the end, just give them a reminder. So
Yeah.
But I apologize that I don't have that slide in Spanish. A lot of crazy stuff going on. So.
Mhm.
Our friend Emily will save the day and do a beautiful interpretation for us. So.
Uh-oh.
We have a slide, Emily, for
Oh.
Georgia that's for one-on-one business coaching, really a great offer, great free thing that they can do to help build their businesses.
Yeah.
We usually use it in an English only audience, and I forgot to
Okay.
have it translated. So
Okay. Is it a big
I'm
one?
sorry. Nope.
Okay. Well,
Nope.
it'll be fine.
Yeah, it's that slide, and it's me, just a quick explanation of what
Okay.
it is. So
right.
Okay, why does it
I
have all those
apologize.
3s?
Yeah.
Good.
And then you have those, Margaret, you have the addresses, right, to throw in the chat. Can't speak today.
Yeah, Erin's going to share the links.
Oh, that's great. Thank you, Erin. Thank you. I should have
Yep.
included you on my Slack, Erin. Sorry. Thirsty. I was doing my certification yesterday, and I honestly lost my voice about 3 hours and 15 minutes into it. I just creaked my way through the rest. Ended it a little early. I don't know what's going on.
That sounds like a brutal procedure.
But anyway. Okay, we'll do. Margaret, since we have 3 minutes, real quick question. Do we have for tech peds in Texas, do you have everybody, all of the coaches listed?
So here's what I told Kelly. I've been going back and forth with her and Marlene about this actually. We have organizational approval for tech ped. So we don't actually have to have individual trainer accounts the way that we do in Georgia. So everything that we post just gets listed as Civitas strategies, and then we list the presenter as the co-trainer. So we don't actually need to have additional approvals. I am reaching out to support person at TechPeds to see if like if we need, when we add, if we need to add more coaches, or Kelly had mentioned like the shine people or like
Yeah.
new this, if we need to add them, do I need to send, because I had to send all sort of like credentialing information for our coaches, education, you know, if you'd participated in past trainings or certifications or all that kind of stuff. If we need to share that information, or if because they're operating under our name, they are, you know, part of that umbrella approval. So I'm just getting an answer about that. But for right now, everybody as part of the current Civitas team is able to run a training through TechPeds.
Perfect. Thank you. I appreciate that.
And
Just-
an extra bonus, which is another thing different than Georgia, is that they base their approvals on trainer qualifications under certain competency areas. And they have gone ahead and approved us for all of those core competency areas. So regardless of our topic, we don't have to go through the approval process. We've already been approved for all those areas. So we can just
Wonderful.
our dashboard and
That's
schedule it,
great.
which is
That's fantastic. So if I train new coaches on new topics, there's nothing really that we need.
no, there's really nothing that we have to do, which is super nice, especially because the lead time for their approvals is like 3 to 6 weeks.
Yeah,
So
we've been through that with Texas before, right?
Yeah.
So,
we're really grateful to be able to bypass that in TechEd, so we don't have to worry.
that's great.
Okay.
All right. Ooh, nice amount of people in the waiting room. What time is it?
Top of the hour, or I guess it's time
Yeah,
for the
we're just about
webinar.
at time. We can go ahead.
Kind of
and-
lunch. Okay. I have
Oh,
watched.
sounds
Take a
good.
look. You take a look.
I'll admit.
Can you hear wild crats going in the background? Okay, good. Good morning. Hello, hello.
Buenos días y bienvenidos.
Good morning. Good
Good
morning.
morning. Sorry.
So good to see you all. Thanks for joining us today.
Es un placer verlos todos. Gracias por estar aquí con nosotros hoy.
Thanks to those of you who are already putting your name in the chat. As you join and get settled into our session today, please go ahead and put your full name, so first and last, into the chat. And if you'd like to add your PDS number, you can do that as well. It's just going to help us record your attendance as accurately as possible. No, you do not need to have your camera on to participate in this session. You are welcome to have it on, but you do not have to. The recording is running, so if you're more comfortable to have your camera off, that is okay with us. You can participate in the chat. You do not have to have your face shown.
Entonces, para los que ya están aquí, si por favor nos pueden ayudar agregando su nombre y apellido al chat y también su número PDS. No es esencial que usted participa hoy con la cámara encendida, pero si desea encenderla, tampoco hay problema. Vamos a tener una grabación de la reunión después que usted podrá acceder.
We'll wait maybe just one more minute before we get into our introduction. So go ahead and settle in. Take your time here. I'm just going to shout out our chat for a moment. I'm joined by my colleague, Erin, who's going to be active in the chat a little bit. So I encourage you to keep an eye out there for some additional links and resources that will be shared throughout today's presentation, especially as we show QR codes and we talk about some other things that you have access to. Definitely keep an eye out there so that you can have access to it all.
Empezamos en un momentico y quiero avisarle ahora que mi colega Annan está aquí conmigo hoy y muy activo en el chat. Así, atención a la barra del chat a mano derecha por si acaso él somete algunos enlaces que le pueden servir. Gracias.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get started. Welcome. This is enhancing communication with technology for you, childcare providers. We are excited to be presenting on this topic for the first time as part of our technology series through the Thriving Childcare Business Academy. My name is Margaret Vivian. I'm a Civitas Strategy Senior Associate. You may recognize me from some small study groups I coach on building a strong work culture and also utilizing technology. So you'll hear me play up some of those topics today and relate some of those things together with our information in today's session. But before we really get into that, I want to call out Emily, who has joined us today as an interpreter. We are fortunate to have her to provide this training in both English and Spanish. So able to allow us to do that, we use the interpretation function here on Zoom. So when my friend Erin turns on this function, you'll see a globe icon appear on the bottom toolbar of your Zoom screen. Once this has been enabled, we encourage you to please select that globe icon and then make a language selection. You'll see either English or Spanish. We do ask that you make a language selection, regardless of if you're going to continue to listen in English. You can still hear the original audio without selecting a language, but if we have any questions that come from the Spanish room, you won't be able to hear those participants. So that we can have full participation for both English and Spanish participants today, please go ahead and make a language selection. If you're joined on like your phone or an iPad, interpretation will show up a little bit differently. You're actually going to have to select those three dots above more, and that's going to show you a sort of drop down of additional settings. There you will see language interpretation. Again, you're going to select that and then select your language as well. Emily is going to explain these instructions in Spanish as well, and then we're going to go ahead and enable that function and get into some of today's content.
Bienvenido a todos. Le da la bienvenida Margaret Vivian, que quizás ustedes conocen de otros webinares de presentación. La presentación de hoy tiene que ver con mejorar la comunicación con uso de la tecnología. En un momentico, hablando de tecnología, vamos a encender la función de interpretación. Y cuando lo hacemos, verá al fondo de su ventana de Zoom una barra de herramientas que ahí tiene el icono de globo, debajo cual dice interpretación. Haciendo clic ahí, se va a conectar con el canal de interpretación. Por favor, elige o inglés o español. Aunque está cómodo escuchando en inglés, es importante de escoger el canal de inglés si vas a escuchar en inglés. Si no, por favor, español. Si se está conectando con móvil, empuje los tres puntitos para ahí igualmente encontrar las interpretaciones de idioma y escoger o inglés o español. Muchas gracias. Y por favor, avísanos si tienen alguna dificultad utilizando el chat. Gracias.
Thanks, Emily. So Erin's going to go ahead and enable that function now. You should see that setting appear either in your toolbar or under your more settings, and we're going to go ahead and join our language rooms now. Is that working for you, Erin?
Nope, I have turned it on already. Do you by chance see it?
I do not. So that's why I'm sitting here silently.
The globe, you mean?
Mhm.
I just clicked on it. It showed for me. I just wonder if folks don't have their screen expanded to where they have the full toolbar at the bottom.
I can check Emily's channel to see if it's on. If you wanna- Hey Emily, can you hear me?
I just want to be able to hear her at all.
Okay, I'm hopping back to the other channel. It seems like it's working.
I believe that it is. I just didn't have the settings show up and I don't see it under my more. Let me stop my screen share for just a second. So just to make sure that I can get into the, there it is. And I'll just pull my screen back up. There we go. There we go. Okay. So again, welcome. Thanks for bearing with me as I figure out my own tech, but hopefully you have joined one of those language rooms and can hear in your preferred language. But again, thank you for joining us this morning. Again, this webinar on enhancing communication with technology. We're going to take a deep focus on parent-provider communication today, thinking about the way that we communicate in a professional capacity. We know that effective communication with parents is really essential to providing quality care. And we're going to explore how different types of technology can help strengthen these vital connections, save time, and also improve your overall service. Before we really get into our content, there's two things that we're going to shout out. The first, my colleague Jen is going to talk about, which is one-on-one business coaching that is available to you through our friends at DECAL.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jen Bale. I am the Director of Professional Learning at Civitas. Just want to apologize that I don't have this slide in Spanish. Looks like I also am saying 3 million on that slide. Everybody can just ignore that. Not sure how to have it. So I'm the Director of Professional Learning, and it's come to my attention that a lot of Georgia providers are not familiar with the fact that DECAL offers through Civitas free one-on-one business coaching, completely free, no obligations whatsoever. It's a very easy 30-minute phone call. We would love to engage with you. There's a whole list here of the topics that we are able to do one-on-one coaching on. But if you see that very bottom bullet, if you don't see a topic here, we still may be able to help. So it's one-on-one coaching customized for your business. Again, it's free. DECAL has worked so hard to make sure that these resources are available for Georgia providers. We have the QR code here, but my coworker Aaron is going to put the link in the chat for registering for one of those topics, and also an email address that you can basically you can email if there is something that's not on here. So once again, DECAL makes this free 30-minute coaching available. It's always free, and we would love to have you join. We have so many talented coaches that can help you, and it doesn't have to be just one session. So if there's a topic here and you want to do a deep dive, we sometimes call it level 2 coaching. If you want to do a deep dive, we're here for you. We can do more than one session on that topic, and you can have one-on-one coaching on more than one topic. So thank you all. Thanks for giving me a moment of your time. And thanks, Margaret and Aaron, and take care, Emily. I'll talk to you guys soon. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Jen, for that reminder. And if you've participated in any of our small study groups, you'll be familiar with this one-on-one coaching model. But we just want to shout it out to, again, make sure you know that it's available to you. It's free, it's continuous and ongoing. So if you ever have a question, whether it's from a webinar, a small study group, just something you're curious about, this is an opportunity that's available to you. Our final piece of sort of technicality before we get into the meat of today's content is our disclaimer that we have. So the information contained here in this presentation has been prepared by Civitas Strategies and is not intended to constitute legal, tax, or financial advice. The Civitas Strategies team has used reasonable efforts in collecting, preparing, and providing this information, but does not guarantee its accuracy, completeness, adequacy, or currency. The publication and distribution of this information is not intended to create, and receipt does not constitute an attorney-client or any other advisory relationship. Reproduction of this information and recording of this content, including the use of AI, are expressly prohibited. Only non-commercial uses of this work are permitted. Boring stuff out of the way, let's go ahead and get started in talking about our actual conversation today, which is how we can use different tech tools to enhance our communication. This is just a brief overview of what we're going to be covering. This webinar is specifically designed for you as childcare providers and professionals looking to enhance your communication with parents through different tech innovations. We're going to explore various tools and strategies and also best practices that you can actually implement into your program with the goal of providing practical solutions that you can start to use right away. These are going to improve parent engagement and streamline your communication processes. We're also going to look at some common mistakes and things to be aware of when implementing updated technology in your childcare business. So think of this as strategies, solutions, and even some red flags to avoid when taking on some of our tech suggestions today. I'll also throw out that anytime you have a question today, you can enter it into the chat. Aaron might do some answering throughout today's presentation, but we will also have time for live question and answer at the end of today's session. So you can hold your questions, write them in the chat, and we'll run through them at the end of our time together. So let's start our conversation by acknowledging why communication is so fundamentally important to what we do. We know that effective communication with parents forms the foundation of quality care. It builds trust with families. And when they can see and understand what's happening with their child throughout the day, it creates continuity between the home and the childcare environment, which we also know is really vital for child development. Research shows that when providers and parents communicate well, children experience better developmental outcomes. And in today's competitive childcare market, strong communication can really differentiate your program from others. Set yourself apart, build trust, build strong quality relationships with the families in your program so that they can continue to choose you based on their comfortability with your communication style and frequency. I talk about communication so much, especially in our work culture group. If you've ever participated in that, whether it's with me or one of our other coaches, you already know how vital effective communication is to building trust between you, your staff, and also the families and children in your program. So we know that this is extremely important for both our operations and the longevity and success of our business. So we're going to take some time to really focus on it today. Like I said, we know why communication matters, but we also want to acknowledge some of the challenges that we're facing. Why is it difficult? What are some things that we're running into so that we know what tech tools to apply to overcome those challenges? There are a lot of challenges that we face and that you face as childcare providers when it comes to parent communication. The first of which being timing. Your time is limited and it's also valuable. Those busy drop off and pickup times aren't always conducive to having meaningful conversations with parents. You're managing multiple children, you're trying to share important updates. The parents themselves are also in a rush, trying to get their kid, move on to the next thing. Maybe they need to get home, get back to work, get to sports, whatever it might be. Documentation of those interactions and record keeping add another layer of complexity to those interactions. We have a hard time finding the time to have those meaningful conversations and interactions with parents. So we can use tech as a way to overcome that hurdle. And we'll get into that in just a moment. Another challenge that we face is, the expectations that the parents have for how and when we are going to communicate. So thinking about this from the parents' perspective, today's families are increasingly tech savvy. They have grown really accustomed to a lot of real-time information in many aspects of their lives. And they often are going to want regular updates throughout the day about their child's activities, their meals, naps, learning moments, and they expect convenient access to that information on their phone, on their computer, something that's really right there in their hands. Increasingly, parents also want photographs and video documentation of their child's experiences. So it's no longer enough to, say at pick up or drop off, oh, they had a great day, right? They want to see proof of that. And we need to find ways to provide that proof. Again, knowing that building that trusting relationship with the family is really vital to their ongoing enrollment and again, the success of the quality of your program. We know that those are some of the hurdles that you're facing. How do we have the time to make these have these conversations? How do we, fit that in with all of the other things we're accomplishing in the day? How do we feel like each parent is satisfied with the amount of communication that they've received? We want to also say what happens when that doesn't happen, right? Why we know why communication is important. We know some of the challenges, but what actually happens when communication breaks down? What happens when we don't have effective communication? There are many consequences that we can face because of that. The biggest direct effect is on parent satisfaction, right? A lack of effective communication can quickly decrease parent satisfaction and trust, diminish the trust that they have in your program, particularly when they feel like they are out of the loop regarding their child's care. It often leads to increased questions and concerns, and sometimes confrontations that take up even more of your valuable time. For your staff, poor communication systems create additional stress, which can contribute to burnout and turnover, something none of us can really afford in today's staffing climate. We know the challenges that you're facing when it comes to staffing and finding reliable and good employees for your business. And so we don't want to threaten that with ineffective or inconsistent communication. Again, I'm going to call out my work culture group here and maybe encourage you to participate in that small study group if you haven't. But you hear this time and time again. We talk so much about communication. It is something that is it's a multifaceted aspect of our business, and it really has an impact on a multitude of things within our business, our operations, parent relationships, work culture, and generally just the day-to-day flow of things in our business. And so we know that we have to be extremely mindful of the ways that we're communicating, both digitally and face-to-face. We also know that families who are enrolled in our program serve as one of our biggest marketing tools. But when communication breaks down and that family or that parent has the opportunity to share about a negative experience, particularly online, that can be extremely damaging to our business. Not only does communication affect our adult relationships, but it can also impact the way we are supporting the development of the children in our care. When providers and parents aren't effectively sharing information, we miss valuable opportunities to collaborate on supporting children's growth and learning. Finding out what's happening at home, finding out what's happening in the program, how do those things relate to one another? How can they support each other is a really vital part of that relationship. Again, we'll get deeper into how we can directly address each of these things with technology, with an effective communication solution in just a moment. So why do we want to use tech? We talked about these challenges. We experience these things every single day. Let's figure out some ways together that we can use technology to support us through those challenges. Remembering that tech is never meant to replace personal interaction, but it's really there to enhance the experience, professionalism, efficiency, and consistency. If you participate in the utilizing technology small study group with me, you will hear the words effectiveness and efficiency over and over and over again. That is the way that I like to describe the way that we use technology, the value that technology has for us. It should increase our efficiency, right? It should be time saving in some way, and it should be effective for our business. If it's ineffective or it's not saving me time, it's not worth it. I'm going to find a different system. And so we're going to talk about some digital communication tools that are going to accomplish both of those things. They're going to be effective and they're going to be efficient. We find that there are three key benefits to using different digital communication tools, particularly for parent communication. And like I said, the first one is efficiency. Technology allows you to automate routines like daily reports, different updates about meals, schedule reminders, maybe different activities that are happening in your program. And digital systems dramatically reduce the amount of time that it takes to provide those reports or provide those updates to parents. You can use digital systems for different things that you have previously been manually documenting. So no more lost permission slips or handwritten notes that you can't read or don't remember what you meant when you said those words on a note. Do it within a digital system like a CCMS or another communication interface. And you'll save yourself a lot of time and also frustration because you know where those things are and you know that they're read. They are easy to read and easy to share. The second biggest pro, we'll say, for how or why we want to use these digital communication tools is that it helps to build transparency and trust with families. We talk about trust also a lot with our work culture, right? And our work culture extends to our families as well. And it's so much about our staff and our program, but it's also so much about the families and the children in our care. Digital tools, digital communication tools provide windows into the childcare day that weren't possible before. Parents can see photos of their child engaged in activities, they can receive real-time updates, and feel a lot more connected to your program. These tools make it easy to document and share special moments, milestones that might go otherwise uncommunicated. It's one of the greatest things to say, or to communicate to a parent, I can't believe they accomplished this milestone today. And then to be able to document it for that parent to experience is a really wonderful thing as well. Builds trust with that parent. Like we mentioned, they're one of our biggest marketing tools, and their enrollment obviously is so vital to our business that we want to make sure that we're fostering strong communication and a great relationship with them by documenting these things and providing them opportunities to witness what you get to see with their child in your program. The third thing is that digital communication creates permanent searchable records of your interactions with families. No more wondering, oh my gosh, did I tell them about the field trip? Did I send that, payment reminder? Many of these tech solutions support or many of these solutions allow you to have a record, a very clear record of when communication goes out, when you're in touch with these people, and even the response that you might get back. You can make note of two-way communication. Oh, there was acknowledgement of that. I sent this reminder and they acknowledged it so that I'm on track. I have proof that they know that this is upcoming. Everybody's on the same page. In addition to just the sort of record keeping side of that, Many tech solutions can also support in your licensing and quality rating requirements. They automatically document different aspects of your program that regulators might want to see. This level of professionalism in your record keeping not only helps you with compliance, but it also distinguishes your program as organized and thorough. Two things that you really want to be able to highlight, especially if you have someone coming to evaluate your program. So what are some of the options? What do these things look like in our practice? We have a couple of main categories of technology tools that are available to childcare providers today. The first is a comprehensive CCMS system, so childcare management systems, apps like Brightwheel, Playground, Hi Mama, Tadpoles, and ProCare, probably things that you're already using. And these are sort of all-in-one solutions that offer a myriad of features, from things like attendance tracking and reports to photo sharing. Maybe there's a messaging capability, billing reminders, record keeping. They might even have a cash flow option. There are so many functionalities of your CCMS, and they are specifically designed for childcare providers. So it's tailored to your needs. There is a full suite of functions available to you. And it can really be, like we said, a sort of one-stop shop for these solutions in regards to communication and also record keeping. If you want to separate your messaging from your CCMS, or maybe you're not super comfortable using that platform, there are simpler messaging platforms like WhatsApp, GroupMe, ClassDojo, and Remind, which focus primarily on text-based communication. They might be a good starting point, especially if you might find yourself to be more of a tech novice, or you're not as comfortable using sort of complicated technology. Simpler messaging platforms might be the way to go for you. There are also options through web portals, either through your existing website or dedicated parent portal systems that allow secure access to information and resources. So in addition to it just being a communication platform, messaging back and forth, sending photos, sending videos, it can also be a way to share valuable information and resources for your program. Something that might be useful for you, particularly if you take a lot of video or you have a hard time sharing video across your messaging platforms, you might want to share videos through things like private YouTube channels or similar platforms that allow you to share classroom activities or presentations with parents. We can also use social media to help us communicate as well. If you're comfortable using things like private Facebook groups or Instagram accounts, private Instagram accounts, you only allow the families who are actually enrolled in your program to follow that account if you're photo sharing if you're sharing photos or videos of the children in your camp. It can be a really effective and an extremely interactive way for parents to see what's happening in the program. I worked with a family childcare provider a couple of months ago who said that was a great way for her to do real-time photo sharing. And oftentimes parents were more receptive to updates that she was providing on their Instagram page than they were to, say, an email or even a text message. They knew to check that Instagram page for, what did they do that day? And in the swipe through of photos from the day, she would also share a slide about, hey, make sure we bring extra clothes because it's been muddy and we're playing outside. Or, make sure that, payments are due at the end of this week. Be prepared with your check or your digital payment so that you can have an on-time payment and avoid penalty, whatever that update might be. She found that to be a really effective way to both do her photo and video sharing and also provide some real-time updates to the parents. It creates a really beautiful log too of what you've accomplished across the school year, right? Say I have a 3-year-old son, but say you have a 3-year-old in a program and you see them on their very first day in, say, August or September, and then you can really see the growth and the change from then until June, right? It can be really valuable for a parent to be able to see that and feel like they've experienced it alongside you while the child has been in your care. Now that we know what some of these tools are, CCMS, other communication platforms, video sharing, social media, how do we choose these tools? How do we know which one is the right one for us? When we select a communication technology tool, there are several things you want to consider. Number one is going to be ease of use. This is really important. We say this when we coach on record keeping and bookkeeping. I think that involves a process. When you are choosing a piece of technology, choose the one that you are going to use, right? Choose the one that you're going to go back to. Same thing with those systems. Choose a system that works for you. Doesn't matter if it doesn't work for me, as long as it works for you, it's functional for you. It's something that has ease of use that you feel confident and comfortable going back to share information on. And it also should be easy for the parents to use. We want an interface that is seamless from sharing from you to the parent and vice versa. If it's not easy to use, it simply won't be used consistently, right? You're going to avoid posting things and communicating. And the parents, if they don't find it easy to use, they're not going to check either. So if you are sharing updates on those communication platforms, they might get missed. And that really defeats the purpose of having that direct communication line with those families. We also want to look for solutions that require minimal training and work well on various devices. You know this, you're maybe at your desk, or then you're up walking through the program, or maybe you're in a classroom and you're switching from a computer to your phone, to a tablet. You want to be able to have access to these communication tools, to these tech tools across all of those platforms. So for example, if you're using a CCMS and you're using the communication platform on that system, make sure that you have the desktop app on your computer. Make sure that then you have the mobile app available on your phone, the mobile app, or the tablet version on whatever tablets or devices you may be using in your classrooms. One, it's going to create greater efficiency, right? You'll have access across platforms, but it also makes that system more effective if multiple people can have access to it across different platforms. Then you also have the experience of knowing what it looks like across those different platforms. Sometimes a web version or a desktop version looks very different than an app version that you would see on your phone. And it can be helpful for you to see how those things look on different devices. We also want to be aware of what your budget is. What is the cost associated with these tools? Most digital tools follow either a monthly subscription model or they're a one-time purchase. So is it an upfront fee? What does an upfront fee get you? Are there hidden paywalls after that? Or is it on a subscription basis? Do you pay a monthly fee? Does that work for you? If it's a monthly fee, is there an option to pay it annually instead? What works better for your cash flow? Those are some questions that you're going to want to ask yourself. When we evaluate cost and we calculate the potential return on investment in terms of time saved and increased parent satisfaction, that really can help inform us on the decision that we're making. Something else we really need to be aware of are security and privacy, particularly when we're sharing photos and videos of the children in our care. Ensure that any tool that you are selecting has strong data protection measures and is compliant with the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act. Establish clear parent consent processes for any technology you implement. So make sure that you have, the waiver for photo or video sharing. Make sure that parents are aware that you might be doing that, or the platforms that you're using to share those pictures on. Another consideration when we're thinking about privacy and security is if you are not paying for a communication app, be really careful with the information that you're sharing. We know that free apps make their money by collecting our information and then selling that information. So it's really important that you are understanding what data is being collected, making sure that you're not sharing sensitive information on any platform that would be, collecting data in that way, so that you can protect both your business and also the children or, the families that you're sharing information for or with. We also want to make sure that we are establishing a clear integration of this system into our program, especially if we are transitioning from, one way of doing things to another. We want to consider how a new tool can work with your existing systems. Is it replacing an old, version of something, or is this a totally new system that we're implementing? We want to make sure that we are communicating what those changes are and that everybody is on the same page about how this is being implemented and integrated into our existing operations. Finally, there are different types of childcare programs have different needs. So a large center might need an all-in-one CCMS like ProCare that, attaches to different programs or has all of these different functionalities or multiple user accounts, while a smaller family childcare provider might just need something that's a little bit mobile friendly, a little bit more mobile friendly, something that can be easily accessed on their phone or on a tablet that they're carrying with them throughout the day. So when you're thinking about what tools you are going to implement, take advantage of free trials. Take advantage of the opportunity to sort of test something before you buy it. If you have the opportunity for a month-long or week-long trial, test it on your phone, test it on your computer, see what those interfaces look like, see how the functionality is for you. Does it really fit the need? Does it provide efficiency, and is it effective? That's what it boils down to. And again, that's why you hear me say those words so many times, both here and in our small study groups. Efficiency and effectiveness are really what it comes down to, while also considering all these other things when we're deciding on what effective or what tools will be effective for our business. So now that we know what tools are available to us, let's shift our focus onto what some effective strategies look like for using these tools. How can we implement them? Having the right tech is really just the first step. Deciding on a CCMS or deciding on a communication platform is just the first step. How you implement it really makes all the difference in its effectiveness. We want to create a structured approach. We want to think about the way that we are going to be implementing this system, this program, this tool into our day-to-day operations. The foundation of effective digital communication is a well thought out plan. We want to start by defining different types of communication that you deliver and the need for their appropriate frequency, right? So if I deliver a monthly newsletter, I know that I need a platform to deliver that newsletter. And I also maybe need a reminder month to month that I need to either develop it or send it. But if there are daily updates, what sorts of things can be sent as alerts? What sorts of things can be sent as messages? Are there things that can be automated to be sent as updates? So daily updates might include things like meals, naps, activities, while weekly or monthly newsletters could cover more broad things like upcoming themes or events. We also need to be aware of what emergency alerts look like within these tools and how we use them. Emergency alerts require immediate attention, whereas routine reminders can be scheduled in advance. Something that's going to help you with your implementation and also structure this approach to a rollout of a new tech tool is by clearly assigning staff responsibilities. So this doesn't have to be a singularly assigned thing. You don't have to take on the load of saying, I decided to, take on this new messaging system. Now I have to figure out the whole thing by myself. No, you don't have to do that. You can assign roles out to your staff to help support you. One, it's going to help them learn the system. It's going to help with broader implementation of the program, and it's going to help with better acceptance of that program or of this change across your program. So assign these responsibilities. Who's going to post the daily updates? Who approves the content before it goes out to families? Who responds to parent messages and within what time frame? You can create templates for consistency. So, if you have updates that go out every day, create a template for what that message looks like. It saves you time, and it also ensures that all necessary information is being included in each of those communications. This sort of looks like a chain of command, right? You have somebody who is posting daily updates, but before that update gets sent out, it goes through somebody else for a proofread, make sure that the information is there, it's accurate, there's no misspellings or anything like that, and then they're able to send it. Then maybe a different person is assigned the responsibility of responding to those messages. And we communicate with parents and families about how long it can take you to respond to a message. Say, okay, if we receive a message from you, we will respond within 3 hours or whatever's a reasonable time frame for you and your program. But again, we can assign that to a different person. It doesn't have to be your responsibility to take on every single step of these processes. We also want to establish a consistent communication rhythm to help both your staff and parents know what to expect. So, daily updates are going to be received through whatever app you're using, whether that's CCMS or a different communication platform, by 5 p.m. each day. Weekly curriculum notes happen every Friday, and our monthly newsletter is delivered on Monday of each month. Set expectations accordingly. This is going to help parents know what to expect, and when they expect it, they're less likely to feel anxious about missing information, which means they're less likely to reach out to you over and over and over again to say, I got pictures, I don't know what's going on, can you tell me what's happening? Which adds to your stress, anxiety, and again, disrupts that trusting relationship that you have with that family. So when we're able to set these clear expectations, when we have a clear plan and template for consistent, professional, and clear communications, we're able to implement these tools really effectively and really efficiently. create content that parents are actually going to engage with is really the next question. We know how to build a system on how to do that, right? We just ran through that. But how do we know that parents are going to look at these things? How do we know if they're going to read these things? We live in such a visual world, right? An infographic is huge. Having certain colors or pictures is so important. So let's talk about how we can create content that parents are actually going to engage with. Visual elements dramatically increase parent engagement with your communications. Photos that tell a story, not just a posed photo of saying, oh, can you stand over here so I can take your picture so that your mommy can see, really show what they're doing. Maybe it's more active. You're in an activity, they're doing something, their child is engaged in what they're doing, and you can tell the parent about what that activity is, what the goal of that activity was, or what that child accomplished by doing that thing. It helps parents visualize their child's day and also engages that parent in the child's learning. Beyond just hearing about it, they're actually able to see it. Simple infographics, like I just mentioned, infographics are huge. Simple infographics can help make complex information like developmental milestones or curriculum concepts more accessible to families. Short videos of activities and learning moments are incredibly powerful as well for helping parents understand the value of your program. So we are so familiar with words and acronyms or sort of jargon that happens when we're talking about curriculum or developmental milestones that a parent may not be familiar with. And so we want to make sure that we are breaking that down for parents when we say, we're looking for such and such developmental milestone, or the child was able to accomplish, such and such a thing in this day. We make sure that we're explaining that in a way that parents are going to understand. Sometimes terms like sensory exploration or executive function are familiar. And so we want to frame those things in a way that are a little bit more easy to digest. Really, those small adjustments in the language that you're using or the way that you're presenting those things in your content can significantly increase parent engagement. We also know that our communication can really increase or enhance, I should say, not increase, enhance the way that we are informing parents about what's happening with their child each day, right? Each age group has sort of a different requirement of what parents are looking for or what they want to know about what's happening with their child, right? Different approaches for different age groups. You think about the infants in your program, right? Parent wants to know really detailed information about what's happening with their infant. There are a lot of variables when it comes to caring for an infant. A parent is going to want to know that too for their own knowledge, but also, for their pediatrician visit or whatever it might be. They're going to want to know routines about feeding, about sleeping, diapering, also developmental milestones. Are they rolling? Are they only rolling one way? Are they having trouble turning their head one side or the other? All these little things that you get to observe each day are going to be really valuable for, those infant parents to also be aware of. Then when we move onwards to a different age group, we think about, our toddler group, the information doesn't need to be quite as detailed, does it? But instead, those toddler parents are going to want to know about emerging skills, language development, and also social interactions. How is my child doing, in a group setting? Are they avoiding other kids? Are they engaging? Are they engaging other students? Or do they like to play by themselves? All those sorts of things. Are they also hitting their milestones? Are they putting words together? Are they, only working? Are they struggling to put, phrases together? Whatever those things might be that you are starting to, that you are starting to observe. That's what we want to be able to communicate to those parents. Again, different age group, different things. We think about our preschool group, a little bit older. When we think about our preschool group, we want to start to think about learning outcomes, right? What are those sort of pre-academic skills that the child is starting to exhibit? How are they developing their peer-to-peer relationships? And then even further on for school age kids, what sorts of projects are they doing? What sorts of skills are they building? Are they growing in their independence? Again, different age groups require different levels and different types of communication. Photos and videos remain important through all of those. But again, tailoring our communications for really what's most important to the family at that time. Effective communication, and again, calling back on my work culture group, we know that this is not one-sided. Effective communication doesn't just stop with what we are sharing, but it also goes for what the parents are sharing back with you. And technology offers numerous options for incorporating parent feedback into your communication system. In-app messaging features allow parents to respond directly to updates or ask questions privately to you. We can also use things like digital surveys and polls that make it easy to gather parent information. So that you can, have their input on program decisions or understand where they're at with their satisfaction levels. Sometimes things like a comment section on your weekly or monthly updates can also encourage parents to share their observations or ask questions that might end up benefiting your whole community. When we think about two-way communication and the ways that parents are communicating back with you, we want to be aware of, privacy concerns. Is this something that needs to happen one-on-one with this parent? Does it need to be isolated in its own chat? Or do we want to open up the door for broader interaction between parents? Do we want multiple people to be interacting with this post? Again, tailoring different types of communication or different types of responses to different types of communication. Like we mentioned here, if you're sharing a monthly update about upcoming events or themes, that would be an okay time for multiple people to be able to comment, right? That doesn't necessarily have to be shared one-on-one with a parent, but if it's a specific instance, something that needs to be addressed, about a specific child or something that happened in their day, then obviously we want to respect privacy and address that directly with the parent. A well-rounded communication approach includes different types of messages as well. Just like we're having different types of messages for different age groups, we also understand that different types of messages are more effective for parents at different times. Proactive communication includes things like scheduled updates, newsletters, and communication or curriculum information. Reactive communication responds to parent questions or concerns as they arrive. So thinking about the difference there, proactive before we're allowing information ahead of time. Reactive happens after a question comes up, right? That's just a response. Celebratory communication highlights achievements and special moments, and informational communication covers policies and procedures. And educational communication offers developmental insights and parenting tips. Like we mentioned previously about how parents may not be as in the know with the jargon or the things that you're doing in your curriculum day to day. And so it might even be valuable in your monthly update to say, hey, here's developmental highlight for this month. And you're going to talk about executive function, what that is, what that looks like, what you're looking for, or whatever that might be. But to help build the education level of your families and help them understand the things that you're looking for, and also then to be more receptive to the updates that you're providing about those developmental insights and milestones. But we're sort of moving towards some of our last sections here. We've covered tools, we've covered strategies, we've talked about how we can implement those tools, what different types of communication looks like. Now we're going to talk about some best practices that are going to maximize the effectiveness of your technology enhanced communication. These are some of the most practical tips that we've seen work well across different types of childcare programs. So while we're focusing on technology today, it's crucial to remember that digital communication is never a replacement for face-to-face interaction, but it is a complement to it. So we want to use technology efficiently for routine updates, documentation, and freeing up your in-person time for more meaningful exchanges. We want to reserve face-to-face conversations for sensitive topics that require, nuance, empathy. You want to see the reactivity of that person. They need to see it on your face as well. Use those precious drop-off and pick-up moments for relationship building rather than information exchange. When that information exchange is needed, decide whether it needs to happen, whether it can happen, digitally or if it's something that is more complex and needs to happen in person. Save complex discussions about development or behavior or whatever those difficulties might be, or scheduled parent conferences, or a designated time when you can meet with that parent's full attention. Again, tailoring different types of communication for different types of interactions or discussions. Everything that we're talking about today is really about finding balance as well. So in your busy program, personalization can be really challenging, but technology can actually make that more manageable. We always use parents and children's names in communications rather than generic greetings. So instead of just saying hello, right, you'd say, hello, Kathy. Your daughter Josie did such and such today. We want to make sure that they feel like you're really speaking to them. And we can also reference previous conversations or a child's specific interest to really show that you're paying attention. And again, individualizing that communication. It's going to pull in the parent's attention. They're more likely to engage with that communication if you are customizing the message that you're sending to them. Consider customizing communication frequency based on family preferences. So parents might want detailed updates every day. Some people just want the highlights. Some people might only want that detailed report at the end of the week. And that's something that you learn when you get to know the families in your program. At the same time, one of the challenges of digital communication is that it can create that expectation of all the time availability. All the time, we're going to be on that messaging system. You're going to be able to answer my questions. We're going to interact all the time. So remember what we mentioned earlier about setting expectations with parents. Daily updates are going to go out at 5 o'clock. Weekly updates are going to go out on Fridays at noon. Monthly updates come out on the first Monday of the month. But even more specifically than that, we can also set time parameters on that as well. So you might want to set a digital office hours. So that would be an hour or two when parents can expect responses to non-urgent message. Maybe there are auto replies that you're going to create for after hours messages that acknowledge the receipt and then set an expectation for when it will be responded to. Also clearly define which channels should be used for emergencies and which are used for routine communication, right? If you're using Class Dojo for parent communication and you send messages back and forth that are not emergency messages, that's probably, and you're not checking it every 5 seconds, probably not going to be the best way to communicate if there is an emergency. If a parent needs to rush in and come pick up their child, or you need a parent to come rush in and pick up their child, right? That probably owes them a text to their direct phone number or a phone call, right? And we want to set, again, expectations around those differences and how we can use those different channels. But most importantly, we want to also protect our staff's time and their well-being by ensuring they aren't expected to monitor or respond to messages during their personal time. Just like you should not be doing that, right? Sometimes as a director or as a business owner, it is truly hard for us to set boundaries about when we are working and when we are not. And you want to really acknowledge that for your staff as well. You are not accessible around the clock, and it should not be expected that you are. Communication is actually more efficient when we set clear boundaries around it and we set parameters around when we are actively responding and addressing those communications. So set clear boundaries to improve your communication by ensuring that when interactions are occurring, providers, your employees can be fully present and responsive. Sometimes it seems counteractive to set so many parameters or set so many boundaries around a situation, but it actually does increase efficiency once everybody understands those expectations. Now we're starting to get into our wrap up, and I'm probably going to speed up, or I might even skip some things here that are non-essential, but going to round out our conversation because I want to be able to have some time for questions. But let's talk about how we can measure the success of these tech advances. How do we know if this solution is working? It's important for us to continue to evaluate and continuously improve our program. And so we need to figure out how we can measure some of these things to say, is this working? Are we benefiting from this? And from those answers, we can further refine our processes and the tools that we're using. So how do you know if these strategies are working? You've done the work to find a new tool, to implement it, to create a plan, to communicate those things with the families in your program. But how do we know it's working? There are a couple of key performance indicators that are worth tracking. Many digital platforms provide parent engagement metrics like open rates for messages, response rates to requests. And those numbers can tell you which types of communication resonate most with families. So if you're sending out, messages, but you're seeing on your metrics that the response rate is very low, or people aren't even opening those messages, it's not an effective form of communication, right? Maybe we need to change that approach to something that's going to be more engaging. Also, you could consider implementing regular parent satisfaction surveys specifically focused on communication to provide direct feedback on what's working and what needs improvement. You can also track staff time spent on communication tasks before and after implementing new technology to quantify efficiency gains. So, for example, if a communication task, a whole group of messages sent out to a classroom took an hour previously, then you add this communication tool and that's cut down to 25 minutes, you have, improved your efficiency tenfold, right? Then that's been an extreme gain for you. And so we can monitor those things in really concrete ways. We also should be aware that our communication strategies should evolve. They should change based on the feedback that we're getting and also the changing needs of our program. Schedule regular reviews of your communication analytics, so those metrics that we mentioned just a second ago, to identify trends and patterns. Perhaps that happens quarterly or at least twice a year. Maybe you're doing a mid-year tax review. Throw this review in there as well. Maybe you update your budget quarterly. Throw this review in there as well. Implement structured feedback gathering, not just from parents, but also from staff, those people who are actually using the technology daily. Consider periodically testing new features or approaches with a small group before rolling them out program-wide. So maybe you implement a change just with your staff before you introduce it to families. Taking a smaller approach like that can help work out the bugs, the sort of kinks of that process before you dive in and introduce it program-wide. And we want to try our best to stay current with technology developed in the childcare field through professional organizations and networks. So things like this, you're doing a good thing by updating yourself on what some of these tech practices are and what they can look like for us. And don't forget that effective communication is a skill. It improves with practice. And so the more we are able to implement these things and try some of these strategies, the better you are going to be and the more effective your communication is going to be. Last thing we're going to cover are some of these common mistakes to avoid. So all these things in yellow, we want to watch out for. As we conclude, these are really some of the things that those red flags I mentioned earlier that we want to be aware of. The first is technology overload. Trying to implement too many things at once overwhelms your staff and your parents. Start with one thing at a time. Have them master it, then maybe consider adding another. The second thing to avoid is inconsistent usage. I just mentioned, having all these protocols, having these procedures, having these boundaries, that seems counterintuitive to just rolling out the program. But by not establishing clear protocols for how and when tech is used, then you result in inconsistent usage. Then you result in inconsistent communication. And that's when we start to see effective communication break down. It increases confusion and also, creates difference between the ways that people are using that platform. The third is privacy pitfalls, sharing information or photos without proper permissions. Make sure that you track and you have a record of the permissions for communication, especially for photo and video sharing. Make sure that you have a record of that. Paper record, digital record, cloud backup record, all of the above. The same way that you record keep for everything else for your business, make sure you have a record of those permissions and always get explicit consent for how images and information can be used. We also want to be aware of digital dependency, relying too much on technology that you're left scrambling when things go down or parents don't have access. Always have a backup plan. I just mentioned cloud, paper, computer backups for our documents. We want to have that for our systems as well, right? What happens if, the app crashes, or what happens when the internet goes out? How are we going to connect, or how are we going to communicate? Create a backup plan for yourself. And finally, we want to avoid an impersonal approach. Avoid using generic templates without customization. We want to, again, add the child's name, add the parent's name to those interactions. We're enhancing personal connections with technology, not replacing them. So if by avoiding these common things, you'll create a communication system that really is going to serve your needs, It's going to strengthen your relationship with families, and it's going to be really effective and efficient for your business. We made it. We made it to questions. We have just a couple of minutes here for questions. I invite you now to come off mute if you are able, or if you have a question, or if you have one in the chat as well, you can share it there. I'm going to take a quick look through. Erin has also shared some, you can also share some, Erin has, sorry, I'm reading the chat. I can't read and speak at the same time. You just saw my brain glitch. That was funny. Erin has also shared some links in the chat for our one-on-one coaching and also for some written tools associated with this topic. So if you have other questions or you want to reference anything from today's conversation, you can check out those written tools at the Thriving Childcare Business Academy site as well. Daily reports, text, and availability to phone calls, off hours, help. Yeah, talking seriously is impossible. Drop off and pick up. Yeah, Brenda, for sure. Like we mentioned, it's such a busy time. There's no way that you can communicate effectively when people are coming in and out. People are grabbing things, they're going here and there. Yeah, dedicating time, whether that's during the day or off hours, whatever works best for your schedule. It also creates a boundary for you, right? As long as we're not setting the expectation that you're going to be responding to messages until 10 p.m. every day, right? Is a really effective way to do that. Are the tools free? Yes, some of these tools are free. In terms of the tech tools that we've shared, CCMS pretty much always has a cost, but there are definitely free versions or free platforms for communication that you could take advantage of. Again, keeping in mind the data and privacy aspects of that, be aware of what information might be collected by using a free app or free version of an app. Because there might be additional security if you use a paid version of that app or a paid system. Yes, I love, Brenda, what you shared about sandwiching comments. Yes, that is such, again, effective communication strategy we talk about in work culture as well. How you structure your conversations, both in messages and also in-person interactions with families is huge, especially for their receptivity and their responsiveness to whatever you're telling them. We had such a great day. Susie excelled at this, but there's some areas that we really want to work on. She acted out in this way, or she expressed this behavior, or it might be. And we want to make sure that we're addressing that both here and at home. Here's some things that we're doing to address that here in the program. You might want to implement these things, whatever that might be. But yeah, sandwich that. Start off with something positive. Everybody has a value add, and everybody loves to hear something nice about themselves too. So we want to start that way. It decreases the defensiveness that people can have when we're having maybe a difficult conversation or we're sharing something difficult with them by starting out with something kind. And then, starting in with the thing that you need to share. Yeah, Nora says she uses ProCare, but doesn't take advantage of everything it offers. I encourage you to go on the whatever sort of help center that ProCare might have. Take a look at the full functionality of that program. There are so many things available, and also take a look at what integrations they have. So if you're using other apps, can it be integrated into your ProCare, which means that those systems would talk to each other seamlessly. We are not a childcare program, obviously, so I don't have experience using ProCare, but I do have experience using a project management system called Monday.com. We have integrated our Monday.com with a bunch of other features, including our calendars, including our emails. So I can schedule and send information from my Monday.com by setting one automation, and it'll connect to all of those other things. Consider ways that you might be able to integrate different systems into your ProCare as well. Check out that features list. There are probably things you're not taking advantage of, especially when we think about the cost effectiveness of the tech that we're using. Finding ways that we can maximize the usage of things that we're already paying for is a huge way to, again, improve efficiency and the effectiveness of that thing you're using. If there aren't any questions that we want to speak up about, you can stop me, but I'm going to wrap up because we're right at or over time. Key takeaways, you know what they are. You just listen to this spiel, but start small, build your communication strategy gradually. Start with one thing, start with a manageable bite, and then parse that out, right? Make assignments, make an effective strategy, implementation tools that are going to work best for you, your staff, and the families in your care. Choose tools that match your needs. Focus on quality over quantity, right? What are we sharing? Not how much are we sharing? And then balance technology with meaningful and personal interactions. Closing out today, we just always want to highlight again our one-on-one coaching that's happening. You can scan this QR code. The link is also in the chat. And also you can always visit the Thriving Childcare Business Academy site, register for small study groups there, and also take advantage of our library of tools. And last but not least, if you do have questions that we have not answered today, you can always check us out at the Tom Copeland blog. We have an Ask the Experts page there where you can send in your questions and we answer them once a month via a video. So keep an eye out on our YouTube page as well for that. But that is all. I really appreciate your time. Again, if you have any other questions, you can reach us via email. Hunt me down in a small study group. I'll be happy to keep talking about this, but I appreciate your time and I hope to see you again in another webinar soon. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Oh, and for anybody still here, I will just say we have, you should receive your training credit for this session within 1 week of completing this. So by next Thursday, you will have received your credit through PDS. All right. If there are any other questions, I'm going to go ahead and end our meeting. Thank you all for being here. Appreciate your time. Bye-bye.